Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In-Groove in Phoenix, Arizona. Today we're going to have a very serious discussion about the future of vinyl. Yes, the future of audiophile vinyl for the beginning of 2021. Now this is very serious conversation. This is going to be a serious one, so I want you guys to take me serious here. So let me get out my serious mic attire. Can't be in a t-shirt. That's not very serious. Okay, that's better. Let's talk about what's coming up for the beginning of 2021. I've essentially written down all of the audiophile labels. We've got Analog Productions. We've got Blue Note Tone Poets, Classic Series, Pure Pleasure, stuff from Vinyl Me Please. This is everything we know so far. This is going into February, March, April, and May. And as you can see over here, we have a slew of unknown titles. Titles that have been announced, but we don't have a date on them. We assume most of them are going to be this year. But when it comes to audiophile labels, as you know, sometimes they announce things today that come out 4 years from now. Let's hope that's not the case, but that's entirely possible. But let's start with February. The very first thing coming out, as of the filming of this video, is Craft Recordings announced a new series called the Small Batch Series. These are essentially one-steps recorded on VR9000 vinyl. That is the official name for RTI's formulation of what's also known as super vinyl, the one-step vinyl. Music Matters calls it the SRX vinyl. So they only announced 1,000 of these. They've sold out in about 20 minutes. And the minute they sold out, they were already selling on eBay for $500. So 1,000. It's John Coltrane's Lush Life, February 19th. Bernie Grundman mastered it, of course, from the original analog tapes. Now, they've kind of hinted that this is going to be an ongoing series. This is not going to be a one-and-done thing. The 1,000, in my opinion, is just a way of, just like MoFi did with the one-step, drive up the prices on that first title, and then the prices are going to be high for all the remaining titles. I very much doubt that title number 2 is pressed at 1,000 copies. That would be insanity. That would just agitate people. This agitated people, but it sets the standard. It gets everybody talking. It makes everybody feverishly hungry for that title. It hasn't even come out yet. People are paying $500 for it. There's a good chance that that's a $1,000 title, maybe more. You know, as these series progress, people kind of have that completist mentality. What ends up happening is they want to complete the whole set, whether they listen to the music or not. That's what's going on with the acoustic sounds, Analog Productions, UHQRs, and the Mobile Fidelity one-steps. So that's going to be something I actually should, I was lucky to get one. One of my YouTube followers tipped me off to it, told me about it. I was able to get it in the final few minutes, maybe a minute and a half after I checked out. It was already sold out. So I'm going to do an unboxing on that as soon as I get it. I'm really looking forward to that title. It should be cool. It's a great time to be an audiophile vinyl junkie because there is tons and tons of stuff for you to spend your money on. Okay, announced for February, but again, never set in stone. Holly Cole's Temptation. This is a 4LP, 45 RPM box set from Analog Productions. They've already done it as I believe it was maybe it was a 33, maybe it was a 45. This maybe is a single-sided deal. I'm not 100% sure. This is a title that they've announced for a long time now. I'm going to assume it's actually 33, and the 45 off of memory is going to be the box set. The 33 was, maybe it's a double disc 33, the original pressing. Don't hold me on it. So Pure Pleasure is announcing for February. Now these titles have been delayed. It's very hard manufacturing vinyl in 2021. There's major delays. There's a huge boom going on. Everybody wants vinyl. Everybody wants audiophile vinyl. That's good and that's bad. The bad is you got to wait for your records. It's hard to get things. Everything's sold out everywhere. It cracks me up when I get emails like, hey, Mike, how come you're sold out of everything? Everybody's sold out of everything. It makes me angry. Well, deal with it. That's what it is. If I could make these records myself, I would. I cannot. I don't. I have to rely on other people to do it. And yeah, this is the aftermath. COVID. There's problems everywhere. That's what it is. Pure Pleasure has 2 Strata East titles. Strata East, one of the most legendary possible Strata East, avant-garde jazz labels of all time. Everything on that label, originals for the most part, are maybe $100 to $2,000 with consistently, and it's very hard to find originals from that label. But they're doing Charles Rouse, 2 is 1, and they're doing Stanley Cowell's Musa Ancestral Streams. Let's see, both of those are Strata East titles from Pure Pleasure. Also in February, Vinyl Me Please, the subscription club BMG of 2021, pay us a year in advance, and we're going to mail you a record a month. They do a lot of audiophile records. They do a lot of quasi-audiophile records, and by quasi I mean they do a lot of audiophile records that are cut on really noisy, super colorful splatter wax. They go through the trouble of doing it all analog, great jackets, they do the whole spiel, but the problem is the records are awfully noisy. But when they do something on black vinyl and it's pressed at QRP, those records typically sound really, really good. Frederick Knight, I've Been Loving You for So Long. That was the title for this month. They have a classic series and an essential series. Those are the series you're going to find the analog records. I've had a lot of problems with Vinyl Me Please, but they do some home runs every now and then. They've done some great titles. A lot of audiophile titles, but I really try to stick with the black vinyl pressed on QRP records. Now, granted, if you buy a record from Vinyl Me Please and the corner comes crushed, too bad. You maybe get a $5 credit, but you're not going to get a replacement jacket. I don't care if 4 inches of the corner is whacked off. They're going to flat out tell you we don't refund or do exchanges for cosmetic damage. So that's something you're going to have to learn to live with. And they're not exactly mailing your records in bulletproof boxes. They are in really, really thin cardboard boxes. So yeah, that's kind of a problem. I wish it would be addressed, but it hasn't been addressed. They don't really care. But I've Been Loving You So Long. There was also a box set announced a while back that I got called The Story of Tribe Records. Tribe is another one of those avant-garde jazz labels from back in the 70s. They did a lot of great avant-garde stuff. Phil Ranelin was on that label, Vibes from the Tribe. I've talked about that record a lot here on the channel. These, all Bernie Grundman cut from the master tape. God, I didn't know half those master tapes existed. They are showing pictures of master tapes. I'm assuming it's for some or all of the titles, but I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going to probably do an unboxing on that as well. Yeah, all analog, legendary label in the way of avant-garde jazz. Vibes from the Tribe, one of my favorite records. Should be fun. So yeah, that's coming in at February. Now, granted, I talk about these months, but I'll get to these at the end. The unknown pile over here is anything that could just plop its way into the mix. Now, I kind of broke it up here by colors, and you guys can't see this because obviously it's written kind of small. But we've got Blue Note related titles in blue. We've got random titles in black. We've got Analog Productions titles in green. And we have Verve Universal titles in red. So coming up for March, they just announced the new 2021 full list of tone poets that are coming out. In March, we've got Charles Lloyd Tone Poem. I misspoke on that in a video earlier. It was kind of ambiguous on how that was done, but that was actually recorded digitally, and that'll be cut digitally. They put on their website kind of a blurb about the series, all analog cut, and then the blurb on that particular record. That is digital, but it's a new record, Charles Lloyd. I'm still looking forward to it. Tone Poems coming out March the 12th. Also, we've got 2 more titles, Dexter Gordon's One Flight Up and Andrew Hill's Passing Ships. All 3 of these tone poets are actually available right now on the website for pre-order. But yeah, anytime they're pumping out tone poets, good week at the In Groove. Okay, The start of April, we are looking at Art Blakey's Moanin' and Hank Mobley's Soul Station. Both of those are Blue Note 80th Anniversary classic titles. Not 80th Anniversary, that was the series before that, excuse me. Those are the classic series, essentially the continuation of the 80th Anniversary series. That is all analog, cut by Kevin Gray, put in a basic generic jacket, but to keep costs down, it's $10 cheaper than a Tone Poet. Retail on Tone Poets are $35, retail on classic series are $25. So it's a more affordable way to get into jazz, but high quality sounding jazz. My favorite jazz record of all time comes out on the 9th, Art Blakey's Moanin'. That is the record that got me into jazz, and yeah, one of my favorite all-time records. But also, we've got another heater, Hank Mobley's Soul Station. That is another iconic, extremely expensive to source in original form Blue Note title. So we got another Vinyl Me Please box set that's coming out. So Vibes from the Tribe looks to be sold out. The story of Herbie Hancock was announced 3 months ago, and it's not sold out. And I can tell you one of the reasons why. So it's $350, but it includes Taken Off, Maiden Voyage, Headhunters, Live Under the Sky, the piano, Future Shock, 1+1 in the River. Now, normally, you would look at that list and say, man, look at all that stuff. Now, keep in mind, 3 of these records are digital. 1+1 in the River were recorded digital. Those are digital. Herbie, for some reason, wanted to reorganize Live Under the Sky. He resequenced the track listing on that. So it's cut from high resolution high 24-bit files, I'm assuming. But let's take a look at what you are getting. Taken Off. Cut by Bernie Grundman, by the way, all of these. Kevin Gray did that as part of the 80th series. You can get it still for $25. Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage. Now, this is a Bernie Grundman cut, but Kevin Gray cut it. Coming out soon as, what do we got right here? Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage. That's an upcoming classic series title. Headhunters. That is right now, currently an Analog Productions title. So the first 3, right off the bat, you can already get. Essentially, as far as new additions for analog, you are getting the piano and Future Shock. 2 records that are really obtainable on the secondary market for not a lot of money. So this is something I bought, but you can see why this is not going to be something that is worth $1,000 next month when it comes out, because it's just one of those things that there's a lot of overlap here. And when I look at a lot of the stuff that Bernie Grundman did compared to what Kevin Gray later did with Music Matters, compared to what Bernie Grundman did with classic records, I'm a bigger fan of the Kevin Gray cuts. They're fantastic. So can Bernie hit him out of the park with this? I'm sure he can. He's one of the best mastering engineers in the world. I will let you know. I will do an unboxing on that as well. So we've got the Verve series striking again in May. So Gil Evans Out of the Cool. Now this is cool because this is something that was reported in the media to be lost in the Universal Fire. The original master tape lost forever. The last time you could ever get a beautiful reissue using the master tape was the Alto series from the 90s. It drove the price up. Yeah, not true. Master tape's been found. Analog Productions showed pictures of it. Wonder what else they claim the fire took that really didn't get taken. More will be coming out, I'm sure, in the future. But that's one of them. Gil Evans, Out of the Cool. It's a fantastic record. Sounds amazing. I've got an original. I've got the Alto pressing from the 90s. It is a great sounding record. That's a killer candidate for the series. I will say on a side note, Impulse has already announced that it's their 60th anniversary. They're going to be doing a lot of reissues using this Verve series. Essentially, the year is going to be slated for Impulse titles. So I'm assuming, there was originally a Bill Evans Trio 65 and a Bill Evans Trio 64. If you look inside of any of the Verve series titles so far, there's an insert in there announcing an upcoming 2 titles, Bill Evans Trio 65 and 64. Those kind of disappeared from the landscape. I'm sure they will end up coming out, but I put them over here in the unknown pile because, yeah, they've kind of disappeared. But I'm assuming that is because for the rest of 2021, we're going to be looking at Impulse titles to celebrate their 60th. The other title is Ray Charles Genius Plus Soul. Now these are slated for the 18th. A lot of these titles have come late as, production becomes an issue. This particular title is using the Kevin Gray cut from 10 years back. It sounds fantastic. I already know it sounds. It's going to be a good home run of a title at $35. That has been out of print long before the vinyl resurgence. So that title is good to get back into circulation. So yeah, let's talk about the unknown category. So we'll start off with the Blue Note Classic Series. So when they announced the Blue Note Classic Series originally, they announced, 6 months worth. We've essentially still got March and April confirmed dates of when we know stuff is coming out. But they also announced they're going to be doing Sonny Clark's Cool Struttin', I think one of the most iconic jazz albums of all time, one of the best Blue Note covers. Also, Jimmy Smith's Back at the Chicken Shack. I really dig this title. Jimmy Smith was one of the best-selling artists on Blue Note, probably with Lee Morgan, of all time. But a lot of the reissue series, like Music Matters, have stayed away from it. They didn't like, I spoke to Ron over there at Music Matters, and he's not a fan of the organ, so he stayed away from organ titles, like the Jimmy Smith titles. But yeah, Back at the Chicken Shack, an iconic Blue Note title. It should have been in print a long time ago. But yeah, that will be put out at some point. Another iconic couple of titles. You got Dexter Gordon's Go and Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch. Grant Green's Idle Moments and Kenny Burrell's Midnight Blue. That is one of my favorite top 10 albums of all time. Just the feeling of that record is just unbelievable. I really dig it. You've got Chitlin's Con Carne. Stevie Ray Vaughan covered that later on. I can't listen to that. For me, that's an unlistenable track. Every time I hear that come on, I have to go and put on Midnight Blue. That's where it's at. Okay, so Freddie Hubbard, Ready for Freddie, and Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage, considered probably his best album. Okay, I've already kind of talked about this. We've got the Bill Evans Trio 65 and the Bill Evans Trio 64. Who knows? I have no clue when they're actually going to come out with those. We might not actually even see those till 2022. Now, I'm going to do these videos on kind of a more regular basis to try to keep you guys up to date on what is going on. But I'm not going to go too far advanced, 3-4 months at the most. But you're going to always see a lot of unknown titles because a lot of these manufacturers have gotten to the point they don't like to hurt people's feelings anymore. So they no longer announce things and then push them back and push them back and push them back and push them back. Kind of like Music Directed with Kinda Blue, what Analog Productions did with the UHQR of the Jethro Tull. These were titles that were announced and didn't come out for years later. Dire Straits, anybody? Mobile Fidelity Dire Straits. I think maybe I had those on order for 4 months. So 4 years, 4 months would have been nice. 4 years, maybe 3 or 4 years I think it took for those to actually finally come. So they've gotten to the point now where they announce things and then you get them all of a sudden as a surprise. People ask me all the time, hey, when is my Nilsson Schmilsson coming that I ordered last year? Well, I have no clue when it's coming. I know it's sold out. I know that if you cancel your order, you're not going to get one. You're going to be buying one on eBay when it comes out for $150. But I can tell you that they don't tell dates, and they don't tell dates to me until they're like, okay, Mike, pay up. Records are on their way. So obviously I have a 5 or 6 day notice. So yeah, while the truck is on its way, but the manufacturers have gotten a way of promising dates. There's no disappointment that way. So inside of the UHQR of the Jethro Tull, they have an Up Next. And the Up Next shows Miles Davis's Kind of Blue. This is a UHQR. They're doing a 33 and a 45 RPM version. This is actually using the original Bernie Grundman masters from Classic. The 45 RPM of that goes for some bucks. The 33 is not easy to find. What's cool about this is this was made from the original 3-track tapes. This is the last time that Sony probably will ever let those tapes out of the vault. So this is kind of the last hoorah for a nice analog audiophile record from the original master tapes. The music Mobile Fidelity version was actually cut from a new 2-track tape. So they went back to the original tapes. They created a new 2-track master to be used. And that is what the music, I'll get it right, I promise. That's what the Mobile Fidelity version is cut for. Still sounds fantastic. I did a shootout of it. It was the top for that particular title in the shootout. It came out on top. I'll be curious to see how, I'm going to probably have to redo this. I've got some subsequent stuff that I've added since I did that, including the classic 45 RPM, including they not officially released, but hidden into production. They did the Mobile Fidelity Kinda Blue super vinyl test pressing, so I've got that, and I've got some other stuff, you know, Nimbus Supercuts. I've got some other versions of that. So when the UHQ car comes out, I'm going to have to give that video a reshoot. But classic vinyl, a lot of times was noisy. Their quality control was really, really abysmal at the end. So I'll be curious what the UHQR treatment brings to the table. Okay, so Janis Joplin Pearl One Step, that was already announced. That's a pre-order on the website. And Blood, Sweat, and Tears One Step, that is also a pre-order on the website. Those two titles are getting close to selling out. Pretty soon they're going to be pulled off the website. Kind of like Harry Nielsen, Nielsen Schmielsen's. It went on sale last year on the website, but I've subsequently had to take it off because I'm getting close to my allotment and it is sold out. You can no longer buy that record anywhere other than maybe pre-orders from guys on eBay charging extra money. But yeah, so I'm thinking, don't know for sure, Blood, Sweat, and Tears is probably imminent, probably the next couple of months. I have no idea with Harry Nielsen. I wish I did, but I do not. So they did an Instagram, Mobile Fidelity did an Instagram post earlier in the year. And on that Instagram post, they announced a bunch of titles coming in 2021. I'd be willing to bet money that not all of these titles will drop in 2021. I don't know if they've ever announced a list of titles and everything went so smoothly that they were able to get it all out. 2021 with COVID, fat chance that's going to happen. But on that list, a lot of one steps. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, One Step. So that's their self-titled album. They're doing Muddy Waters Folk Singer. You know, the Analog Productions of Folk Singer is really, really good. I'm not sure why we have the crossover, but they're doing that as a one-step. Also, Eric Clapton Unplugged, they're doing that as a one-step. I'm assuming that's a digital recorded record, although that's a great sounding. You know, I've heard it CD. I've heard other versions of it on vinyl. I've heard the DVD. I remember it being broadcast on VH1. Or was it MTV, VH1? It was a long time ago. TVs were smaller. I don't remember. But yeah, Unplugged, One Step coming out. I'm assuming that's probably digital source, but that's not unheard of. The Donald Fagen One Step, that was a digitally recorded record. That One Step is digital, you know, from a digital source initially. Similar thing going on with the Brothers in Arms. That was recorded digitally. They did some things. They sweetened it up. It still sounds, the 45 RPM version that's in print now is still probably the best I've ever heard that album sound. So they've souped it up. So I'm curious of what happens with that One Step of Eric Clapton's Unplugged. I'm sure that's going to be quite good. Paul Simon, Still Crazy. So that, yeah, Still Crazy One Step. You know, I don't know how I feel about that title. It's a great record. I don't know how well it's going to go. A lot of people, are they going to pay $125 for that record? Maybe. The thing is they got going for them now is there's completists. You can't buy 14 one-steps and just say, you know what, I don't like Paul Simon, I'm just going to skip the 15th. People are just going to buy it anyways, and that's where we're at this point. So I feel like that's going to sell really well. This is a title I'm kind of looking forward to. Jeff Beck's Truth, 45 RPM, and an SACD. So, another title that I'm looking forward to, and actually when I look on this list, the non-one-step titles, this is the title I'm probably looking forward to the most, and that is Alan Parsons' Eye in the Sky. That is going to be a 45 RPM, 2LP set, and an SACD. Speaker's Corner cut a version of this. That sounds fantastic. I'm thinking at 45 RPM, man, they should really be able to make that record hum. Okay, the next title is David Crosby, If I Could Only Remember My Name. Now, this is kind of a new format from Mobile Fidelity. This is a super vinyl exclusive. So it's not a one-step. It's not a standard LP, 33 RPM, 45 RPM. This is only going to be available on Super Vinyl and SACD. So it's kind of a new series that Mobile Fidelity is throwing in the mix. You know, the evolution of Super Vinyl is kind of interesting. It started out as originally a mystery insert in the Kind of Blue, Miles Davis, and the Carole King. So they did a small run on each of those titles where they were actually on Super Vinyl. And the only way you really knew was when you got one. Now, that evolved into Simon and Garfunkel being the first of the one-step titles that came out on Super Vinyl. The titles before that, what was it before that? I think it was the Donald Fagen, the Bill Evans, and the Santana Abraxas came out on standard vinyl. But since the Simon and Garfunkel, they have all been on Super Vinyl. So this is kind of interesting in the fact that we are now going to have one-steps, standard vinyl 33, standard vinyl 45 RPM, and now Super Vinyl. So it's a fourth variation for Mobile Fidelity. It's kind of cool in a way because late last year we got a surprise. They announced Elvis Costello, Burt Bacharach. It was a title that was $300 on the secondary market. They were doing a repress on Super Vinyl for $50. I'm surprised it didn't sell out immediately. You know, with vinyl, there's a tipping point. You make 299 of something, 300 people want it, the value goes through the roof. You make 301 of the same exact title, there's one more that then, you know, people want, the price stays repressed. So it took a while, it took just until recently for them to actually sell out of that title. But a couple days after that, they did Bob Dylan's Desire as a Super Vinyl title, 45 RPM. So the Burt Bacharach was 33 at $50. The other title, that Dylan, was $75 for a 45 RPM. They only did 1,000 of them. It sold out in hours. Subsequently, $200 record on the open market a couple days after it sold out. So you can kind of see there's kind of a dichotomy there. You never quite know until you do it. How many is too much? Where is the magic number for the market to absorb to where it doesn't become oversaturated and the value never goes up? Okay, Analog Productions is doing, and they've announced this a couple of years ago, so I wouldn't hold my breath on when this is coming out. But Roger Waters, Amused to Death. This is a 4LP box set. That was actually recorded digitally. The 33 that's in print now, that record sounds absolutely fantastic though. I'm looking forward to the 45 RPM set. Roger Waters is a big fan of things exploding on his records. I would say all of his records have loud explosions on them. That yields to the 45 RPM larger bandwidth concept. Wider groove spacing, more bandwidth, more dynamic range can be cut into it. Okay, Joe Walsh, The Smoker You Drink, 45 RPM. There's a 33 RPM of this record. This is going to be a 45 RPM version of it. So yeah, this is, I'm hoping to be an ongoing, continuous series talking about what we know is coming up and what we think might be coming up. You know, this kind of helps out my locals. This helps out all of you guys. This helps out all the guys who are buying and flipping records. I know people don't like it, but that is an inherent part of vinyl. I've got many, many customers that buy records from me who don't have a record player, don't care about vinyl. They do it as a side hustle. You know, it is what it is. You know, that's capitalism. So that is it for the future of audiophile vinyl. Don't forget you could check out our Instagram page throughout the week when hot items come in, restocks come in. A lot of times I'll post it on Instagram, or every Thursday here on YouTube, I put the new arrival video for that Friday's release date. All right, guys, don't forget to check out the website, www.theingroove.com, where all of the stuff that will have mass market release, the Mobile Fidelity, the other titles, I will be able to either pre-order and sell to you online. All right, guys, until next time.